Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, Terre Haute updates a game-changing $20 million development. Columbus looks to attract wide-ranging attention. An Elkhart company spotlights what it calls crazy robotic technology. The latest on Indiana's efforts to attract Amazon. A health-centered nonprofit is growing. The Pacers get into competitive video gaming. And we look at the best back-to-school and tailgating snacks from throughout Indiana. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. The president of a nonprofit focused on redeveloping the Wabash Riverfront in Terre Haute says the $20 million transformation of the old American can factory will absolutely attract additional investment. The Riverfront Lofts project will turn the facility into 166 apartment units. Riverscape's Charlie Williams spoke with Inside Indiana Business Television host Gary Dick to talk about what he calls a home run for the city.
I want to talk about this vision beyond the specific project for the Wabash Riverfront in Terre Haute, a great natural resource and asset. This has been a dozen years in the making. Talk about the whole Riverscape project and the vision for Riverscape.
Well, we realized 12 years ago there was this natural asset that hadn't been optimized, and that's the Wabash River, one of America's great rivers. And so the whole idea of Wabash River Development and Beautification Incorporated, which is our 501c3, morphed about 4 years later into the Riverscape Plan. Now people know us as Riverscape. Our progress has been slow. Good things take time, but we're making big progress. The pace is picking up, and high hopes.
And you're here to talk now about the Riverfront Lofts. We're looking at the former Icon building, an old historic building that Pillsbury was in there for a while as well, being transformed into loft apartments. Talk about the project.
Yeah, it was originally built around 20 or 30 years, the American Can building, and then Pillsbury came along, and then it was a transportation business named Icon, and then it was really vacant for a while. Fortunately, Indiana State University saw the big idea with the building and rescued it with the help of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation and Core Redevelopment, who also shared the big vision. And it's really exciting. I think it'll probably be a premier residence in Terre Haute, Indiana. It's apartments, 166 market rate apartments. It's going to be spectacular.
You mentioned Core as being a key part of this. Indiana State is also a part of this, right?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Because in the process of 12 years, Indiana State, especially President Dan Bradley, saw the big idea. The campus had been moving east. Now it's moving west to the river. It's been a tremendous success for the Riverscape Plan. And we speak of a three-legged stool. We had a great success on the west side of the river in an asset pretty unique to Terre Haute. It was a beautiful wetland, about 1,500 acres, right across the river. But then we talk about the second leg of the stool, which the university really focused on, and this is the product of. And now we're going from there to a third leg, which is close to Interstate 70, and we're making progress.
It's been my perception, and growing up in that area, familiar with it, that sometimes folks in Terre Haute haven't played well together to get projects like this done. This seems to be breaking through. What do you think, beyond 166 apartments, what does this project represent for Terre Haute and the future of the city?
Well, town gown is so important in Terre Haute, Indiana, because Indiana State University is an urban campus, and they've been an immense influence on our urban redevelopment. And fortunately, the campus, the enrollment's growing, again, thanks to Dan Bradley and the group he's assembled. But they're so important in adding density to our downtown. So it's not only redevelopment for our community and our county at large. It's specifically focused in the downtown, where for the first time in a long, long time, I'm delighted to report there are cranes on the skyline.
You're seeing cranes. There's student housing downtown, the health professions building. So there's activity. Can this be a catalyst as we wrap up here, for more?
I think it is a catalyst already. I mean, that's the cranes are present on campus. They're present in the downtown, and I think they're already a catalyst.
Well, Charlie Williams, the president of Riverscape, you've been at this and others for a long time now. Congratulations on this success. We look forward to following the project.
Thank you, Gary.
All right.
Coming up, an Indiana company talks about its new mech racing suit and more on Indiana's ongoing effort to land Amazon's new headquarters. But first, Columbus is underway with an interactive art display featuring 18 installations from artists and designers from as far away as Copenhagen. Exhibit Columbus also features local high school artists as part of what organizers call an effort to answer the question, what's next for Columbus? Landmark Columbus director Richard McCoy joined Inside Indiana Business to discuss this year's event and plans for the future.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. This is an ambitious project. How did the idea really form?
Well, it sure is ambitious, and Columbus has a history of being ambitious. And so it formed a couple years ago with a group of folks that said, maybe Columbus has become known a little bit for what it did, not what it's doing in architecture and design and community. So a group of us got together and put forth a big ambitious idea that was about creating a program that alternated between symposium and exhibition years. Here we are at our first exhibition, and it's going great.
Talk about Exhibit Columbus, what it's all about, because you have art, you have installations from truly all over the world.
That's right. So there's 18 installations that are from designers, artists, and architects from all over the world, and there's even one made by high school students from Columbus. Yeah. And they're meant to be not sort of snooty art that no one can understand. It's accessible. It's architecture. It's interesting. You can explore it and engage with it. Get your camera out and take a picture, a selfie on Instagram, and enjoy it. So it's about seeing Columbus in a different way.
Okay, let's talk about the reaction so far. You're getting people, you're getting bodies to go through. You're also getting attention from really around the globe.
Yeah, it's exciting. I feel like Columbus has an international spotlight on it these past few months. We had a movie that was out, Exhibit Columbus opened. We've had major stories in every place from the New York Times to Wallpaper to Dwell magazine, and really just about every significant architecture and design publication has said it's time to revisit Columbus. And so we're glad to have the attention. Columbus is ready to show itself off to the world.
Well, you mentioned those things in terms of momentum. As we were talking off camera, IU is going to launch a Master of Architecture program.
That's right. So IU, it's amazing. IU is going to launch a world-class Masters of Architecture program with students that will be in Columbus next fall.
Yeah. What kind of buzz does this create in terms of a conversation in Columbus? Because as you mentioned, Exhibit Columbus itself has created buzz, but with all these other things going around too, the attention being placed on Columbus, what's the potential for that next big thing to happen out of this?
Well, two parts to that question. The first part, the attention's amazing. We're getting not only the community that's coming out and finding different ways to use these installations. We've had a fashion show on one of them. We have weekly yoga. We have wedding pictures being taken. But we also are receiving our colleagues from around the world and around the U.S. are bringing museum groups to come and see it. And so there's it's this great balance between highly sophisticated art and architecture audience and the most local of audience. And so to me, I think all together it points to a bright future for Columbus and hopefully a bright future for Exhibit Columbus.
Yeah, and every company in the state, every community in the state is trying to keep and attract talent. And I got to imagine this can play a big role in that too.
I mean, talent drives redevelopment, and Columbus has always competed for the highest and best workers in the state, and it's back saying just that. It's time for young families and folks to look again about investing in Columbus.
All right, to wrap up, give us what folks can expect. The exhibit's running through
August 26th. Super easy. Come down to Columbus, park out in front of the Visitor Center at 5th and Franklin, go in and get a map, and you can explore this whole exhibition free with your family or by yourself.
All right, very good. Well, Richard McCoy, the director of Landmark Columbus, thanks for some great perspective. Exhibit Columbus, check it out. November 26th, you've got some time. Great exhibit and some great things going on down there too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Later in the podcast, the latest on Indiana's Amazon efforts, and a health nonprofit is providing more than 100 jobs. But now, Call it part robot, part human, and part crazy. Elkhart-based Furrion, which is mostly known for making high-end add-ons for RVs and yachts, has created the Prosthesis, a mech racing suit that the company says could be at the center of a new sport. Inside Indiana business reporter Kylie Valletta spotlights the company and its new massive machine.
The recently opened North American headquarters for Furrion is in the heart of the Elkhart manufacturing RV industry, and that is the company's sweet spot, supplying the wealthiest of RV and yacht owners. Think retractable helipads, rooftop hot tubs, and high-end gourmet kitchen appliances. But the new Elkhart facility is also home base for its latest product, even more unattainable for most people, called the Prosthesis. Furrion debuted it at the 2017 Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. The company has built one so far, and the new Elkhart facility is its current home. The headquarters opened over the summer and will house the final stages of development, testing, and pilot training for the Prosthesis. Furrion envisions the human-powered robot machine launching a new competitive sport. It's designed to amplify the pilot's motions. Ultimately, they believe it will be able to run 21 miles per hour and jump 10 feet high. It will launch the company's spin-out Furrion Robotics, but the RV business will remain its primary focus at the Elkhart facility. Founder and Chief Executive Officer Aaron Fidler says all of the company's concept RVs, boats, and trucks will be built there.
We're expecting high growth in the local industries, so the ability for us to expand here and support that industry better, as well as use it as a stepping stone and our foothold to expand into other markets around North America. It just made sense to expand our existing infrastructure and continue in the direction we're going.
About 35 employees currently work at the Elkhart facility, and Fidler expects that will grow to 50 or more in the next couple of years. Furrion says the building, with its rooftop covered in solar panels, is also 100% solar powered. Gary?
You're right. That is crazy technology, new technology. But Furrion is not new to Elkhart.
No, they have been in Elkhart for about 5 years. They had another location much smaller, not quite as prominent. And they have also a partnership with Lippert Components. Lippert distributes all of their high-end RV products and yacht products. So whenever you want to update your yacht, you know where to go.
I'll know where to go.
Right.
Thank you. Great story. Thanks,
Great.
Kylie.
Thanks, Gary.
Still to come, a nonprofit is looking to help people get off Medicaid services, and the Pacers are getting into esports. But first, is Indiana really a viable candidate for Amazon's planned $5 billion headquarters and 50,000 new jobs? 2 Indiana regions have expressed interest, as have dozens of communities throughout North America. In our new ION Economic Development segment, KSM Location Advisors Chief Executive Officer Tim Cook and President Katie Culp take a look at Indiana's chances.
Unless you're living under a rock, you've heard about this Amazon project. It is huge. Any idea how many cities? Indianapolis is bidding. Gary has talked about putting a bid in Northwest Indiana. Any idea how many cities across the country?
Yeah, Gary, I think when you look at the interest that's been generated just here in Indiana, and then when you read the coverage throughout the country, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be anywhere from 50, 70, maybe 100 cities that compete in 20 plus states. Part of the attraction is this is the kind of deal that I think the three of us may not see again in our lifetime, given the investment, the number of jobs. So it makes sense that everybody's kind of going for broke on this one.
Question everyone is wondering here in Indianapolis in particular, does Indy have what it takes to compete? Now I want to get both of your takes on this. Tim, first you. Does Indianapolis, does the region have what it takes to compete?
I think it's going to come down to 3 things. Do they have the workforce to fill 50,000 plus high-paying jobs over the next 10 to 15 years? Can we come up with a really cool, attractive real estate option that's going to fit Amazon's requirements? And then lastly, quality of life is going to be a big issue. You're talking about Amazon, a company that's headquartered in Seattle that's got one of the greatest quality of life in the country. That's going to be a really high bar. And so it's going to be up to Indy to prove they can do all those three things. If they can't do that, I don't know that they get through the first round, but if they can do that, then I think they could go far in this process.
I think it's a long shot, but it's a long shot for a lot of communities, and I think it's such a good exercise to go through. Hopefully it is successful, but even if it's not, I think having materials at the end of the day that can be repurposed for other pursuits of economic development projects is really positive. And I think if we're really thoughtful about what the findings are, and if we aren't successful, learning why we weren't, that can be very instructive as we're looking at how to focus on some of the deficiencies we may have.
So win or lose, you feel it's good to compete?
Oh, absolutely. I think we were talking earlier today about how if we didn't put our proposal forward, what would that say? It would say we're not even playing on that field, and we are.
You mentioned some of the challenges there. Is there one big hurdle for Indianapolis, this region, to really overcome to be competitive? Is it workforce culture? What is the?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are talking about mass transit. I think that's been way overplayed. I think it's going to come down to the diversity of our workforce. Demographically, we're not as diverse as a lot of the competing cities. I think that's going to be an issue. I think even though we've emerged from the RFRA controversy pretty unscathed, with Amazon, you're talking about a CEO and Jeff Bezos, who, when Washington in 2012 passed their same-sex amendment and did that through a referendum, he put a lot of his own money into it, and that reflects his personal belief in it, but also is probably a cultural belief, something that India is going to have to overcome as part of their analysis.
And Katie, just from a workforce, just sheer number standpoint, the job market's a bit tight, especially in the tech area. Do you think, just from a numbers perspective, that's a challenge for India?
It is tight here, and in fairness, it's tight everywhere. All of our similar kind of sister cities would be facing that. I think the challenge is the overall volume. We just simply are not as large as some of the markets we'll be competing against. And when you're talking about hiring 50,000 people, even over 10 to 15 years, that's a lot of bodies.
Yeah. Tim, you mentioned mass transit as a challenge being maybe a bit overplayed. The fact that we don't basically have that mass transit system. I've heard people talk about the fact if Indianapolis were to get it, you could kind of craft a mass transit system around something like this.
That's totally fixable. I mean, that is something, you can't make 1 million more people come to our market overnight, but you can fix mass transit and craft a solution that would be tailor-made for Amazon and would be helpful to the whole region.
And I find it hard to believe that if Indy checks every box and the front runner, except for mass transit, that would be the reason we don't win.
There's a pretty short timeline to get the bid in, right? I mean, typically to put a bid in for something like this, it would probably take a lot longer.
Yeah.
And they're due by the bids are due by mid-October.
Yeah, I mean, they gave them less than 2 months to do it. I mean, Katie and I have worked with much less complex projects than that take 3 to 6 months minimum. So,
but again, I mean, don't you think that we're going to have that information? Companies typically, I mean, you'd love to have more time, but there's never enough time with these response windows. So we will have some information that will allow us to be more responsive and more quickly the next time around.
Okay, as we wrap up, Katie, I'll start with you. A lot of cities, or a number of cities, being talked about as potential front runners. What are you hearing, or is there any consensus on favorites at this point?
Yeah, I am confident that there will be some surprises in the mix as they keep whittling it down. But there's a lot of talk about Boston. There's a lot of talk about Denver. I've heard Austin quite a bit. I think those would all be similar cultural fits to where they've been already. Yep. But I suspect there will be Indianapolis, and there will be some other kind of off the radar cities too.
Good. Tim?
The same cities. I think those are kind of the short list, and hopefully Indy can make a good showing and be right up there at the end of the day.
The underdog and come through at the end.
I would love that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, me too.
Tim Cook, Katie Culp, KSM Location Advisors. Thanks very much. Looking forward to this this series going forward. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Gary.
Coming up, the Pacers enter the world of competitive video gaming and a look at the best back-to-school and tailgating snacks in Indiana. But now, CareSource, a nonprofit health plan, is opening a new call center in Indianapolis October 23rd and providing 150 jobs. The center is part of CareSource's Life Services program, designed to connect people with jobs and skills in hopes of ultimately helping them get off of Medicaid services. CareSource Executive Director Steve Smitherman spoke to Inside Indiana Business about the organization's plans in Indianapolis.
So why the expansion?
Well, the expansion is due to a tremendous growth that we've experienced with our membership over the past several months and our expected growth coming up for the new open enrollment period. So this call center will help support all of the new members and our current members, as well as our providers, and as you mentioned, around our Job Connect program and growing that program out as well.
Okay, so the jobs themselves, what will they be asked to do, and how are you hiring now?
Yeah, we are hiring now. We are opening the call center on October 16th, when our first class will enter and start taking calls. The majority of these jobs are around customer service activities, which are incoming calls from our members and providers, potentially some outbound calls, maybe some research and resolution of issues that may come in through the call center, but mainly providing, the exceptional service that we try to provide to all of our members and providers across the state of Indiana. And it also allows for disaster recovery and contingency planning for other markets that we have. So we'll serve as a backup call center for our business in Georgia, Ohio, West Virginia, and Kentucky.
Okay, so the Medicaid recipient plan is you're helping Medicaid recipients get off of Medicaid and better than that, a really good quality of life through job skills and what have you. So tell me a little bit about the program itself and really what the goals are and what you're trying to do here.
Well, our ultimate goal is what you just said, and that's get individuals off Medicaid and living a subsidy-free life. So anyone that's in our Who's Your Healthwise or Healthy Indiana population that is job eligible, which generally is 16 and up, we work with in a number of capacities. We've really discovered that healthcare delivery now is so much different than it used to be, and we try to take a more holistic view of that. So we're looking at all the elements of their life, just not their health, which would include their transportation, food, housing, clothing, all the childcare, all of those types of things. And those individuals who opt into our Job Connect program, we work with on a daily basis to identify what those issues are, how to address those issues, and then ultimately prepare them for a job. We have about 60 employer partners across the state of Indiana, and those employer partners filter jobs to us on a monthly basis that they have available. And then we look into our population and Who's Your Healthwise and Healthy Indiana plan to find who has the training, the skills, the education that these employers are looking for, and try to match them up. We've had tremendous success early in getting individuals placed. We've had a number of people who are working full-time now, several individuals who have completed the task and gotten off the Medicaid, and then other individuals just in different streams and aspects of the program. We have individuals that we've assisted get their high school diploma, so now we're moving on to the training component of getting them ready for job interviewing and entering the job world. Individuals who, we've helped do a number of other things, including getting their driver's license, working to get them affordable childcare, affordable housing, and things like that. And every individual in our Job Connect program is assigned a life coach, and this life coach really is their day-to-day go-to for whatever their needs may be. And the really unique thing about the program is once an individual does gain employment, our life coach will stay with that individual for 24 months, regardless if they remain a CareSource member or not. So they're working with them to better their employment, further their education, get them additional skills and training that they may need to continue to progress in the job force.
So the retention rate is pretty good?
It's been tremendous so far. Currently, we have about a 97% retention rate. Those individuals who start in employment have remained employed. And the biggest thing that we've seen from it is not only it's improving their financial health, but their overall health. Individuals in the program are much less likely to use the emergency room. They're much more likely to get preventative services. They're much more likely to adhere to the medication regimens. So what we've seen is just a overall more engaged consumer that's in this program.
Well, Steve, congratulations on the expansion, and we'll have you back on to see how it's going.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Still to come, what are the best back-to-school and tailgating snacks made in Indiana? But first, the Indiana Pacers are among 17 NBA teams participating in a new competitive video gaming league beginning in 2018. Teams will compete in the NBA 2K video game in a season that will mirror the NBA season. Many of the Pacers' on-court rivals, including the New York Knicks, Miami Heat, Boston Celtics, and Cleveland Cavaliers, will also be fielding teams. Pacer Sports and Entertainment Senior Vice President Kelly Krauskopf was in studio this week to talk about what the new league will mean for the Pacers.
This is a fascinating story. The NBA 2K League is what it's called. It's esports. First of all, the market, the size of this esports, it's huge, right?
The industry has significantly taken off in the last 10 years. I think Goldman Sachs valued it at $500 million last year in a report that came out in March. So you're talking about a massive industry that's global. And the NBA 2K game has been around for quite a while. So if you probably know somebody that plays it, that is a game that 1.6 million people a day are playing that game. Wow. So the opportunity is there, and we're excited to be a part of it.
Well, you mentioned esports is a global game. The NBA is a global game, so it seems to be a natural match. I guess that's the idea behind this. Fascinating to me. Describe how this is going to work, because a lot of the elements are the same as traditionally. You've got a draft. How's it all going to work?
You did. So if for anybody out there that's playing and understands the world of esports, and if you're playing the 2K game, essentially what will happen is we will field a team of 5 players. This is men, women, it doesn't matter. You know, the great thing about esports is that size, shape, gender doesn't matter. If you're a great gamer, there'll be a draft that will be held that the league will actually have a play-in tournament for elite level players. I mean, we're going to have the best of the best in the world that will be playing this game. And so our opportunity to field a team of 5 players that will play for the Pacers franchise.
Okay. So 17 NBA teams are going to participate, including the Pacers, in this first season. So you actually have a league schedule. You've got 5 players. You're 5, the Pacers 5, playing against
Boston 5, and it'll be played in a studio. So when you see the game, if you're streaming the game or if it's going to be shown again, a lot of things are still being worked out through the league. But the great opportunity is that there'll be opportunities for fans to be involved, to watch the game. There's going to be merchandising opportunities. We've already had sponsors that have contacted us that are interested in getting involved. I mean, this is groundbreaking. This is another world that's going to take our brand and our game to a global, young, millennial audience.
Right.
That's the next generation of sports fans.
Exactly. And if you are playing this game, you are interested, you think you can compete on a global level, you can try out.
You can try out. You can. The league's going to, again, the league is going to host the play-in tournament to get into the draft pool. So we won't necessarily, as the Pacers team, won't be signing individual players. So we will draft players from the pool that the league will be developing and have that play-in in the draft. And that will be sometime in mid-March.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about this off camera, but the NBA certainly being proactive, taking a leadership role in this. The other leagues have not yet. Part of that, I guess, the NBA is very much a global game. And
it is. Think about the opportunity. There's 34 million people in China that are playing the 2K game online. 34 million. Wow. And so that tells you right there the growth of basketball that's already happened from a global standpoint. And the NBA has been a leader in technology and innovation for quite a while. So we're thrilled to be a part of the inaugural season and be a part of a first franchise that's in a startup.
I know it's impossible for you to answer this, but where do you see this going? Because 17 teams starting out, I would imagine the other teams are going to want to jump on board too.
Well, yes. I think there was an opportunity for all 30 to get involved the first year, and we're going to learn a lot this first year. I think there's still a lot of unknowns as we're planning for it, but I can tell you that when these 5 competitors arrive in Indianapolis, they're going to be treated just like our other 3 teams, the Pacers, the Fever, and the Mad Ants. They're going to be part of the Pacers Sports and Entertainment family, and they're going to be representing our Pacers esports team.
Very good. Kelly Krauskopf with the Pacers Sports and Entertainment. The NBA 2K League, again, I think it's a fascinating story. We'll be following it going forward. Thanks, Kelly.
And finally this week, it's time to snack Hoosier style. From sweet to salty and everywhere in between, this month's Trendiana segment looks at healthy and Hoosier-made back-to-school and tailgating snacks. Yelp Indy Community Director Brittany Smith joined us with a statewide rundown.
I always mention this because I think it's important. These are all entrepreneurial stories. These are businesses that are producing these things.
Yes, yeah, and one of the beautiful things about Indiana right now is the artisan food world of snacks or just small batch products is exploding. Yeah. So anything you can think of, from ketchup to mustard to whatever it is, there's now a Hoosier version of it.
Yeah, so plenty of options. Let's get right to it. We'll start here in Indianapolis with a company that has grown, I know, over the years, have watched them grow, and that's Broad Ripple Potato Chips.
Yes, right in the heart of Broad Ripple, as the name says, they're making small batch potato chips using canola oil, real potato potatoes, their own special mix of spices, but not over salted. That's one of the things people really love about them. And you can get it in a smaller, really small bag, maybe to pair with your lunch, or you can get a little something bigger, even though you'll end up eating the whole bag anyways. But you can find them at Fresh Time, Kroger, and then they actually have the family's dog, Zeus, as their logo. So it's really got that family vibe to this business.
Very good. Another family vibe as we go to Be Happy Peanut Butter here in Indianapolis that really started as a family entrepreneurial project.
Yes,
right?
with their kids. And then they have kept their kids in the process all along, teaching them about the finances of a business, making the peanut butter, branding. So these are not your average kind of peanut butters. They're using white chocolate chips, pretzels, cranberries, toffee in each of the peanut butter batches. And it's one of those ones that you're going to want to eat with a spoon. It's a true snack on its own, or you can spread it on bread, of course.
Speaking of not your typical pickle, is Indiana Pickle Company. Again, that's here in Indianapolis as well.
Yes, Indiana Pickle Company. So one of the things that makes them stand out is they're using local beers from businesses like Sun King and Upland, and then local spirits from places like Hotel Tango in their brines. So you're going to find, a pickle that's made with an Upland beer, and then also they're using things like carrots and pears and pickling those as well. So if you love anything pickled, they've got a really fun match for you.
You also stopped by batch number 2, and again, I think this is another example. It surprised me that a company like this with the mustards and other things that are really making things happen.
Yeah, batch number 2, you're going to see them on a lot of the charcuterie and cheese boards around town with their whole grain mustards, using all natural ingredients. And if you love a good kick to your mustard, they have some really fun versions. I'm waiting on them to come out with a horseradish. They really are great at making these things.
Okay, let's go up to Zionsville here in central Indiana. Tulip Tree, it's creamery. Right?
Yes, in Zionsville. So Fawn Smits is the head cheese master there, started the business. He actually came over from Holland, bringing those true traditions of cheese making. So one of the fun things that stands out in the Yelp reviews about this business is all the cheese classes they're offering. So you can go there, learn the practice of it, learn how they're making it, which obviously always makes you appreciate the art even more.
Everyone loves a good pretzel, especially in the fall.
Yes.
We'll go to southern Indiana and Tell City Pretzels.
Yeah, this one has a really fun history to it. So 100 years ago, a man came over from Switzerland, a baker, and he brought this recipe. And ever since then, this business has been bustling, making wonderful pretzels. And one of the things we'd like to share is that it goes beautifully with the batch number 2, mustard. So a beautiful marriage of 2 different Hoosier products.
Perfect. Let's go to Noblesville and Crazy Charlie's Salsa.
Yeah, so Crazy Charlie's Salsa is known for selling a lot on the e-commerce side, selling online, a lot of recipes on their website. So you can get their salsa con queso or versions with black beans and some fire roasted corn. Great to throw in with chili.
Okay, and we wrap up in Fort Wayne with Best Boy and Company.
Yes, so sweet to savory. They're offering the fudges, the caramel sauces, and some fun mixes for you to make things at home, and you can find them throughout the state.
Awesome. That is a lot of information
Hungry,
all
right?
over the state. Brittany Smith, as always, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Gary.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.